Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Product Coalition podcast. It's great to get this going again. This series is all based up in Sydney, Australia. We've got 9 speakers on the episode of 9 episodes in this series. And welcome to Liz Kaelin, first Sydney guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. It's great to get this going. Our location sponsor for the Sydney series is BrainMates. BrainMates is a product management training and consulting team based in Australia, New Zealand, and Denver over in USA. Find out more about BrainMates' 3-day course for product folks on the 9th of December in Denver at www.brainmates.com.au. If you've just discovered Product Coalition, welcome. We're a global product management community that started out in 2014 as productcoalition.com. And since then, we've also established a Slack community with over 5,000 product managers that's free to join. You can visit productcoalition.com to grab yourself an invite for that. If you'd like to watch this podcast, you can do so on YouTube and search Product Coalition and see Liz and I. The Product Coalition is funded 100% by community support. So if you'd like to support the Product Coalition podcast, the publication, the Slack community, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/productco. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Great to have you here. Awesome. Really looking forward to this. Today we're going to be discussing product management insights from a food tech founder, which I'm super awesome to get stuck into. Before we do though, I've got going to just relax us a little bit with some Sydney questions. So I've got 3 awesome Sydney questions, pub quiz style for you to get us going. All right. So the first one is, how tall is the Sydney Tower?
Ooh.
And it will be in imperial sizes for me because I'm English.
Is it meters? Gosh. 100 meters tall? More than that?
100 meters would be...
What's 100 meters?
1,000 feet, almost, over. Is
that the Westfield Tower?
Bang on.
Is that the one? Is it?
Yeah, it's 1,001 feet.
Whoa!
That's not
Except
bad.
Wrong measurement.
Estimation. Yeah, sorry, it should be metric. What is the coat hanger?
The coat hanger? I've got no idea.
Apparently, it's that massive bridge down the road.
Really? The coat hanger? Really?
It's known by locals as the coat hanger due to its distinct shape.
Right.
There we go. And this one is double difficult if the coat hanger was hard.
Okay.
What is Cadman's Cottage?
Ooh. Is it a pub in the rocks somewhere? Is it in the rocks?
It's in the rocks. It doesn't say whether it's pub, but I'll give you that.
Yeah, cool.
It's
awesome.
Built in 1816. It's the oldest house in Sydney, located in the rocks.
Okay, awesome. Right.
There we go.
Okay.
Liz, Sydney, 7 years in Sydney.
Yes. Yeah.
What's your favourite spot by the water in Sydney?
My favourite spot is Barangaroo Park.
Right.
Yeah. So just around the corner from here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love it.
There's lots of work going on in Barangaroo.
Yeah. So you have to walk past the casino. I happen to live right around the corner, so it's very convenient for me. But once you get past all of the construction, it's a really beautifully engineered piece of parkland that's by the water with really lovely polished concrete that looks like the old sandstone in the rocks, and it's just a really great place to bring a book and relax.
Beautiful. I'm going to check that out this weekend while I'm in town. Great. And what's your favourite meetup or conference?
So my favorite meetup is kind of cheating because it's the meetup that I run. So it's Food Tech Australia, which is trying to champion the food technology community here, primarily in Sydney, but Australia-wide. Conference, I would say Leading the Product was really excellent this year in Sydney. Great speakers. Hopefully there's some actionable insights I'll be sharing with your listeners with some of the speakers. So in our discussion today. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So today we're going to be discussing product management insights from yourself as a food tech founder.
Yes.
Could you tell us your path into product management, into food tech?
Yeah.
To hear.
Yeah. So I think like most product people, it's slightly unconventional. So I started my career as a dietitian and nutritionist, and working in weight management for adolescents and educating low-income families on how to eat healthy on a budget, and then was recruited by a large multinational food company to sell infant nutrition products into hospitals. And that's when I really fell in love with the product, like the concept of product, because I'd always loved food and food products and recommended specific products that were formulated in a specific way for the different clients that I would work with. But it was the first time that I realized the impact of something that was constructed and how it impacts and facilitates certain human experiences. So the product that we were selling was by far clinically superior to what the hospital was using for these sick babies. And so I was so passionate about the evidence that was behind the product that was really easy to sell. So that was kind of my first taste of product management / food tech.
Okay, great. Yeah. And from there, I'm assuming in the States?
Yeah, so that was in the US. And then 7 years ago, I moved to Australia.
Right.
And I started going to different meetups to meet people. And I love food. I'm a dietitian. So I started going to all of the different markets and the delicious restaurants that we have here. And I noticed a gap between the delicious food I was eating on the weekends in the markets and the Domino's pizza that I was eating at meetups. And I'm a dietitian. So if I'm going to... Calories are my currency. If I'm going to eat a sausage roll, it's going to be Brook Street Bakery sausage roll, not Coles. Sorry, Coles. But So I went online to see if there was a platform where I could recommend event organizers to order better food, kind of, because that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything. And I went, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe that's something that I could facilitate. And I just started learning about the Lean Startup and went to a Lean Startup event over the weekend and nearly quit, or my team quit on me, and was trying to validate the idea that if I could get better food into the office, that people would be interested. But because it was a weekend, all of the people that generally work in offices that order food are not working.
Right.
So again, my first sort of taste of validation, I realized that I hadn't tried to validate the other side of the market, the suppliers. So I went to a market in French's Forest in the north of Sydney, and started asking people, if I could get you more business, would you be my business partner? And they said yes. And after the weekend, I kept going, and it just kind of
amazing
snowballed from there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. The thing I love about food as a product, like when so much product conversation is around software.
Correct.
And trying to create emotional reactions to build habit forming products.
Right, yes.
But with food,
it's
the competition is so high, but I imagine the emotional attachment people have to food experience is also far superior to software experiences.
Yeah, I think, when I say that the two universal human experiences are really like food and music, right? So, they're universal languages, and coming from maybe it's my clinical background, but I believe that product people really do have a duty of care when it comes to creating products that are not only creating value and generating revenue, but also things that help to either improve or facilitate like superior human experiences. And food is part of that. So food tech for me means, because there's different parts, right? So there's the engineering of food, which is like modification or, development of physical products. And then there is the facilitation of the food products themselves, which was what our platform was. So the business that I had was called You Choose, until I received a cease and desist letter and had to change my name.
All right, okay.
and after which time it was called Cater D. So we were the maitre d' of catering online. And we built a technology platform where you could easily order delicious food from local caterers into your office. And so food tech for me became about that facilitation, because I didn't make food and I didn't deliver food, but I had a platform where I was facilitating these different interactions. And when you talk about how food is such like a universal experience and we're trying to create these really memorable experiences, that was my goal with my business, and it's all I ever thought about. But the reality, which so many product people learn, is that it was actually an operational and logistics business.
Right, okay.
Because it's facilitation of a perishable product at scale that needs to be there on time, every time, looking like the photo.
Okay.
And the operational challenges that were involved in facilitating that experience for people was never something that I could have anticipated had I, known before. So I think it's really good. You must have this vision where you are so passionate about this experience you're trying to create, whilst at the same time knowing that the experience you're creating is sometimes not watching people eat the delicious food or eating the delicious food yourself. It's actually working with your developers and designers to make sure that people can order food really easily so that they are not, that they're not making mistakes when they order, or that they're getting the product that they want, or they're able to make changes to their order, which happened all the time in catering. Right. Because it's very dynamic business. Numbers change, people change, dietary requirements change, venues change, times change. So it was such a, I love food so much, and that's part of why I'm, became a dietitian. But now I love product, and I actually love the machinations of how things get to one place to another, because even though it was really hard at the time, it was such a liberating experience to understand how that food actually gets to you to create that experience, especially now in this world where software is eating everything, right? Yeah. Except for food.
Yeah. It's amazing the number of variables you just rattled off there that are completely outside of your control, but you're completely also dependent on
absolutely
high levels of success. Can we bring right back to the start of building a product?
Sure.
From scratch to scale. Must be, especially with that context that you've just given us, a huge number of lessons. What stands out to you from that experience?
There's so many. I think the first was I didn't understand the value of using just an Excel spreadsheet when you start, and just making it as manual as possible for as long as possible. And I was so convinced when I started that I needed a custom-built product that I could build myself in order to facilitate the experience that I wanted. But really what I found was that, especially not being from a technical background and having to rely on technical people and resources in order to make that happen, is that the dynamics of the industry I was in changed so frequently that the manual part was it was malleable. Right. So it's kind of, really like an MVP is not a tech product. And I know that a lot of product people know this. I had to learn the hard way. I didn't realize because I was a dietitian before. I had no business training. I literally just had an idea one day and went to a business, weekend and read the Lean Startup and just started having a go. And I had a business before I knew it. So that was a big lesson. I think, and again, this is really basic, but understanding that what a designer designs and the actual finished product when it's built look very different. Yep. So when you think that you have created something and then you get something back, just again, understanding the machinations of that. And I think when, in terms of the product itself, I think the one thing that I had that I'm so grateful for that I didn't realize was so important was that vision. Right, okay. It was very much about, like, what is the experience we're trying to create, and how are we going to do this on both sides of the market? Because we have, on one hand, the people that were ordering the food that's all I cared about in my business. But in my personal life, Liz, the founder, did this business because I just loved food and I loved people that made it. So it was kind of, how are we creating an experience that is, simple and fun for everyone, for both sides, and kind of removes us as much as possible. Because we want them to facilitate, we want them to communicate with each other. We just want to be facilitating that transaction and creating an experience and a service where, we make it easy to go through us, because the customers that we had, want a lot of variety, but they expect a certain amount of consistency. And the suppliers only want to make food. I don't know if anyone knows any chefs or anyone out there, but generally they're artists, Yep. They're only really good at making food, generally speaking. Right. So I think just making sure that you are in the back of your mind, making sure that you have that vision, but that you also have people around you that will be able to help you understand what that's going to mean in a technical manner. Okay. Because like I said, I wanted an amazing experience from both sides, and I was running an operations and logistics business. Which I didn't realize until I built version 2. Okay. Right. Wow. And then I think the last thing too is it comes down to the, Shoes of Prey talks about this, like the mass customization. I think I had it in my mind that people wanted to order great catering online. That was kind of like the mantra. They were the orders through the platform. They want to, order great catering. But what I found was that a lot of the customers that we had wanted that experience of a human to a human. So they loved the website and they loved the menus, and they would pick out everything on the website and call my team and ask them to put the order through
Right.
for them with their credit card details.
Wow.
They just wanted that extra level of someone else is looking after me
Yep.
and making sure that they're doing all the right things. And I remember looking at my team and looking at the platform and all of the blood, sweat, and tears and money that had gone into it and thinking my team are the only ones that are actually using. But customers loved it. They were, I think it was slightly ahead of its time maybe. And in the market that we had, we did have a lot of customers that ordered online, but we had a lot that didn't.
Wow.
And so it was learning about, they say, yes, we want an online ordering platform. And yes, they were using it, but they weren't using it themselves. Like we were the proxy that actually used our own platform in order to facilitate things. So it was just like fascinating things that you would never think of until you're actually, executing on your vision. So, yeah.
Fantastic. When I think about food as an industry, multi-trillion-dollar industry, you found something very specific, very niche, and look to excel specifically on that.
Yes.
For product managers that are looking at food tech businesses, either going in as a product manager to an existing food tech business or taking a path similar to yours of trying to create new value in the chain, what are some of the things to be aware of?
Yeah, I think I would not discount the fact that you are a default product manager for two products. So there is the online experience and there is the offline experience at all times. Even if you are responsible for the software or the hardware that's facilitating any transaction, ultimately the product that shows up is like something that's physical and perishable and should look a certain way and taste a certain way. So I wouldn't discount the importance of understanding that before, that's something that you start to facilitate, because then you're also kind of bought into that vision. Hopefully, if you're a product manager coming in and you're, looking for a position in a food tech organization, you want to get behind whatever it is that they're doing, because food is fun. Again, it's universal. Generally speaking, it's a really fun industry to be part of. So you are looking after, even if it's not your direct responsibility, the end product is something that may not be in your control.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of experiences. We've all done it. We go to our favourite restaurant, order our favourite dish, but on a different day of the week. Exactly. It's a completely different dish. Right. And in this instance, it's completely out of your control.
That's right.
And it is, that emotional attachment of people having an amazing food experience or a particularly poor food experience. Did you find judgment of the platform, or did it always go back to the food?
It actually came back to the service. And I think initially, it's funny because the cease and desist letter was probably the best thing that could have happened to my business at the time. Right. And the reason was because I was so nascent in the industry. I'd started this business called You Choose, which was all about celebrating the caterer and their creativity and the delicious food that they had and the experience that, all of the people that were eating the food were having. And the only person I didn't consider was the person pushing the button that actually bought the food. She was the only one that I hadn't, and it was a she, that I hadn't really considered. So when I had to change my name, I went, I'm going to go and speak to my customers about why they use me. And then I went, how have I never asked them before this why they use me? It was just this, again, revelation where, it was so focused on kind of, as the founder, at least what I wanted or what I was passionate about versus what the business actually needed. And that was the catalyst to change the entire brand. It was all about service. It was all about the experience, because I think people that order food in offices, they're not ordering for themselves. So really what all they're doing is mitigating risk, really. That's why you eat, crap sandwiches from downstairs, because they know they're going to get there on time, and they know the guy's name, and they rely on that so that their job performance isn't affected. And as soon as I could convince them or make them feel comfortable through branding or through the online experience we were having and the testimonials that we had, and sometimes trials we would have to have about the offline experience, like it became an easier conversation. But that's also really hard to control. This
is fascinating. The thoughts you're provoking in my mind is that I'm now seeing is there's food as a utility product, which is the thing downstairs that's fast and easy, and then there's food as a beautiful product experience. That's really fascinating. In terms of product, people looking to start, they're starting the product, the platform, but there's also starting the whole company. Employing people. And the end-to-end starting a company. What are some of the observations or lessons you wouldn't want to make twice?
Ooh, I think I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, because now I teach entrepreneurial finance at UTS at the business school.
Right.
But I think it was 18 months before I did any financial modeling at all.
Right. Okay.
And it was because I didn't have any experience. I was doing it lean. I was doing, just very much, connecting people and, had a zero subscription and everything else. But I think for product managers that maybe haven't had to manage like real budgets before, that you're directly responsible for generating yourself, like that would be the number one thing that I would like. You have to always be thinking about how are you going to make money? And if your product is good and you're delivering value to your customers, then, hopefully that works. That should be enough. You have to be thinking about how is my business going to be generating revenue, because if a business isn't growing, it's dead, really. And you're going to lose that momentum. And yeah, the money is, I always come back to the money.
Yep.
How are you going to make money? Are you going to be able to make enough of it? Have you done any modeling so that you can figure out how you're going to actually have a family or have a mortgage? You might be a unicorn and you might be willing to spend 3 years, without a salary. And I encourage you to do that if you have that vision with that financial model.
Yep.
So that when you get there, hopefully like how much money you're going to make and what kind of value you need to provide.
I've certainly been there myself, running my own business when you can see payday coming up on the calendar, and do we have enough money in the bank, and how we're going to make it. And what I think's a real test of someone in business or product is how you make intelligent decisions under pressures like that,
absolutely.
and don't make bad decisions that are going to hurt you. Fantastic. Food tech in Australia.
Yeah.
When I think about changes, someone like me, man on the street, would see it's like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Zomato. What's the future of food tech in Australia? Is it different to those types of concepts? You mentioned so much else.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that Australia has going for it. And food is it's an all-encompassing term, and so is technology. So is product, right? So in terms of agriculture opportunity in Australia, there is a massive internal piece of this country that is, 10% is actually settled and 90% isn't. And there's a lot of, granted it's not arable yet, but, there's an incredible agricultural technology opportunities here. In terms of the food tech, like K3D, like the marketplace, I think that there's a real gap in the market for like creative solutions for problems that people don't really know they have. So a great example of this is a company called Mr. Yum in Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the business that I always said that I would have started, but I couldn't figure out how to, make money. Clearly they figured out the way. So great to them. Again, for the product managers that are looking to start, just start, because there's a lot of really good ideas, but it's all about execution. And so if you go out with someone, like my pet peeve, because I love food so much, is that if I'm going to go out and spend $30 on a meal and I get my meal and the person next to me got a meal and it looks way better than what I get, I'm so jealous. And I just, I think that the creative solutions for like little problems like that, but will make a big difference to other industries like hospitality, for example. They are really looking to, their margins are so tight. And it's part of the reason why I decided to sell K3D when I did, because I was, the business was a good business. But I was making the majority of the money that I was making through the caterers and the small business owners themselves. It just brought me no joy to take money from them, really.
Yep.
And so I think I think there's lots of opportunities in Australia to actually create value and like create more opportunities for business, and hopefully be able to support other industries like hospitality, like Mr. Yum is doing.
Yeah, fantastic. Proud Mary, I actually sort of advised to the board of Proud Mary, one of Mr. Yum's first customers down in Melbourne.
Excellent.
Happy to really support that food envy moment and try and overcome that. And you're right, as a business in hospitality, you're looking to constantly lower costs and speed up the turnaround time of food and lower the cost to serve people.
That's right.
Every opportunity is one to be looking at. Beyond Australia, is there any particular movements you're seeing elsewhere around the world, or observations?
It's funny because as a dietitian, we were trained on, whole food and cooking, and, very much it was very much a holistic means by which you looked at food products. I think now with the engineering of food, I'm a huge fan of that. And I think, we talk about GMOs and genetically modified, and yes, it's bad to splice a fish gene into a blackberry and, have it be, insect resistant. Absolutely. But I think that there is so much opportunity for engineering of food products to maximize their nutritional value and capability. I never appreciated Soylent until I was a founder.
Right.
I went, how you have to eat food. You know, that's what food is for. And then I had never in my life missed a meal. Never in my life until I woke up. I woke up one day and went, I didn't eat anything yesterday because I was so focused on my own food business. Right. And went, now I see the value of these kinds of products. You know, there's a market out there for different kinds of products. There's amazing things that are happening with insect protein and and Beyond Meat. I'm judging a panel tonight at Fish Burners just up the road, and most of it is food products. So one of them is the V2 Foods, which is the Beyond Meat-esque vegan burger that's being trialed at Hungry Jack's. I am so on board with taking the resources that we have, if we don't have to deplete our environment, and maximizing nutritional value through the engineering, provided that it is like still using whole ingredients in such a way that it's not going to be detrimental. Fantastic. To the body, it's going to be beneficial. Yeah. So, yeah.
Everyone's a winner. And we all enjoy the food.
Yes, yeah.
Great. A question I should have opened with. I've got my family here for the weekend
in
Sydney.
Amazing.
So, we enjoy a low carb sort of diet. I wouldn't say we're gluten free because we need to be. We just try and avoid it. Where would you recommend dinner tonight?
Where are you staying?
We're up by Martin Place.
Okay. So, you can get the 333 bus up to the Paddington.
Right.
And they do really nice roast chicken meals.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just like delicious roast chicken with chips and salad, you know, different vegetable dishes, some desserts, delicious cocktails. It's a great place to go.
Easy. What was the name again?
The Paddington.
The Paddington.
Yeah, on Oxford
Give it a
Street.
go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This has been great. You had fun?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
I think we need to do another one again.
Yeah.
I'd love to chat about the diet side of the industry as well.
Anytime.
That would be great.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching and listening. It's been an awesome first Sydney episode of the Product Coalition podcast. I've really enjoyed this. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can grab the RSS feed from productcoalition.com if you've got one of the other players as well. Thank you all again for listening, and thank you to Brainmates as our location sponsor for having me in Sydney to record these podcasts. Thanks again, Liz Kaelin, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.